So, hey everybody, it is noon o'clock, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, and I want to thank all of you for joining me and taking the time. And just so that you know, I can't turn off the go to meeting sound. It makes a little drop sound, little water droplet sound every time someone logs logs out of the meeting, and I can't get it to turn off. So we're gonna hear that for the next half hour. So I just want to thank you guys so much for taking a half hour out of your day, right at lunchtime for a lot of people, or the beginning of the morning if you're on the West Coast, to learn a little bit more about why I started Stacey K Academy and what we're going to be talking about. It is a 6-week program. We have 6 weeks of webinars, technically 7 weeks because we do a follow-up the last week with office hours / Q&A. So want to thank you guys for all of that, and everybody who registers does get a Stacey K Academy t-shirt, and you can choose your logo, so we customize that a little bit. And I just want to thank you guys. We're going to go ahead, we're going to get started. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're going to mute everybody. We have close to 40 people in this session today, so a little too much to kind of open it up for conversation, but please, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to close this out and we'll go ahead. I'm not using PowerPoints. I'm using something that I like a little bit better. It's called Prezi, so hope you guys enjoy it. It's a little more interactive than just a regular PowerPoint. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started. Thanks a lot, you guys. So we're talking about work-life balance, and I think that it's not my favorite term. I'm just going to be honest with you about that. Work-life balance, it's more, I think it's kind of a thing that we all chase, and I don't know how easy it is to get to it. And I think everybody has to define what it is. And I was reading all of these articles, and I was doing all of this traveling in 2013. And what I found was that, people just don't know where to start. And I equate it to what we always called Mount St. Laundry. And I'll get into that in just a couple minutes. So a little bit about myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stacey Kildal, and my middle initial is I. It stands for Irene. I am QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop Advanced Certified. And so that gives you a little bit of idea of what my practice is. I think that this Stacey K Academy is pretty applicable to anybody that runs a bookkeeping or accounting practice, regardless of what accounting software you focus on, whether it's QuickBooks or any of the other ones. I just happen to run an entirely 100% QuickBooks focused practice, just because that's what I've always done. I really like it. It works for me, and that's kind of my wheelhouse. Rush, I'm a big, huge Rush fan, so that's my little joke there, a serial number. Big Rush concert coming up this Sunday. I've got Ninth Row, main floor, ridiculously excited, my favorite band ever. I have 2 kids. My daughter is 13, or she will be 13 in a few weeks, and my son is 6.5. And I have been married for 15 years. And I actually met my husband when I was 12 and he was 13. And we rode the Ferris wheel together at the church fair. And we stayed friends for about 10 years. He dated people, I dated people. And one night, middle of the night, I called him and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you. It's really important." He said, "Okay." And I said, "You know what? I'm crazy in love with you, and I have been probably since 7th grade. Do you want to go on a date with me Friday?" And he said yes. And so here we are, almost 20 years later. We've been married 15 and a half years. So what I just realized, and I'm not joking about this, is I just recently realized that I kind of do a lot of stuff, a little bit busy. So I run Kildal Services, and I have an amazing partner, Shannon Ferris. I couldn't do it without her. I have an amazing admin. Katie just saves my life all the time. But I also do the QB show. So we do that live every Tuesday night. We've been doing that for almost 5 years. And I do a lot of training for Intuit. So that all that training that I do for Intuit is really sort of on the side. Don't ever factor it in as to any budgets that I'm going to have or anything that I've got going. But yeah, I realize that I'm sort of a busy little bee and I do a lot of stuff. That being said, I also make sure that I take the time out for me. And it took me a long time. I've had my business, I've had Kildal Services for 11 years. And it took me a long time to realize that I don't have to work 80 hours a week and I shouldn't work 80 hours a week. And I do need to take that time for myself. And so I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about my story. Hold on one second. And just to be honest, I don't always have my shit together, and that is okay. There are days where I think I want to pat myself on the back some days if I get a shower before I have to go leave, before 5 o'clock. If I can get a shower before 5 o'clock, that's great. I'm doing better than most days. And I think that this is something that we all sort of struggle with, especially those of us who work from home. I work from home with 4 cats, and there are some days where I just kind of can't get my butt in gear and get going, and that's okay. That's the world. That's, everything telling me that I need to just slow down and kind of take a couple minutes. So when that happens, yeah, I will absolutely positively crawl back into bed and I will watch an hour of Law and Order and catch up on my emails, and that's okay. And I think that for a long time, it wasn't okay, and I felt like I always should have my shit together, but I don't. Just so that everybody knows, we're all kind of on a level playing field here, and I think we all feel like this, but we don't necessarily want to talk about it. And that's one of the things that I do in a lot of my blogs is I just talk about a lot of things that people don't want to talk about. So one of the things that I had to do was I had to learn how to juggle work plus travel and my family. And this was really, really difficult. In 2013, I was on the road. I was on a plane 33 out of 52 weeks. 3 of those were for vacation, but 30 of those weeks were doing live training for Intuit. And I had to also run my practice. So this is where moving to an online practice back in 2008 and 2009 really sort of came into play and helped me manage all of this. But what I found in 2012 and 2013 was that I really needed to figure out how this was all going to work together. The kids were both now, going to be in school. My son was in preschool and about to start kindergarten. My daughter, was on her way to middle school, a lot of things going on. There was a rough patch. Like my husband and I weren't really getting along all that great in 2012 and 2011. Then there was a disconnect. And so what I found was that I really had to do a needs analysis. And I did that for myself. And this is one of the things that we teach in Stacey K Academy is we have this amazing needs analysis that we give and we use with all of our clients. We sit down with them or we have them fill it out and then we go over it with them. Just depends on the client and the situation. And what this needs analysis does, and I used it also on my personal life too. So I did it for my practice and I also did it on my personal life. And so I identified where the pain points were and what is like sucking about work and what is not working for my business. And so what I did was I identified all of those. And I eventually took on a partner. Shannon started working with me on a part-time basis in 2013. I realized that there was no way that I could manage running Kildal Services and doing the travel, the work travel that I was doing, and having time for my family unless I took I took on a partner. And so Shan helped me part-time in 2013, and in 2014 it really became kind of a full-time thing, and we make decisions all the time together about where we are going. Oh, I want to thank someone. So the beeps, oh my gosh, Deborah, thank you so much. So somebody just sent me a link on how to fix the beeps. I knew it was somewhere, and it's a little tiny button. So thank you very much. So we've got that taken care of. But so Shannon came on in 2014 kind of as a full-time partner, and we really evaluate the clients that we work with, where we're going as a business together, and we do it as a team. Do we want to take this client on? Do we want to take this project on? What are our goals? And so that really, really helped. It's really difficult to run a practice and run a business in a vacuum. And the other thing that I realized that I needed to do was I didn't want to have one of those cookie cutter websites. It was fine 11 years ago when I just sort of, hung out my shingle and started doing this and really didn't know if it was going to work. But because my practice was growing, because my business was growing, and because I wanted, to look legit, and to stand out from other people, I really realized that I needed to outsource that. I could not manage my website anymore. I'm not a web designer. It's not what I started my business to do. And I asked myself during this needs analysis the same kind of question I asked the clients. Did you start your business to do your bank reconciliations? My clients, and I guarantee your clients, usually say no. And that's what I started asking myself. Did you start this business so that you could do web design? Nope, I did not. So that needs to be outsourced. And marketing was a struggle. It really was back 5 years ago. Being a QBO expert or being an expert in QuickBooks Online was something that was not a lot of people knew the product, and not a lot of people were using it. And so I could call myself a specialist, and it was very easy to market myself that way. But at this point in the game, there's so many other people who are much smarter than I, who probably know the product way better than I do. And so being a QuickBooks Online specialist wasn't an option anymore. And so I really needed some help with marketing and focusing what I was doing. So I did source that out as well, and we kind of came up with a really great plan. I did not start my business to do those things. Another challenge that I really suffered was that we had crappy clients. We had some really crappy clients. And what I always teach when I do live events and when I do webinars is that when you get an email or you get that text message from a client and your stomach just drops before you even read it, it's time to let that client go. And we had to figure out a way to get rid of crappy clients. And you can see this right here, this clients that suck. That actually is part of our marketing plan. So for 2014 or 2015, it says right at the top of our marketing plan, we're not going to work with clients that suck. And that means that just difficult clients that suck your energy, clients that have a problem with scope creep. We just don't want to deal with them anymore. And so we had to come up with a way to kind of eliminate those really crappy clients. And so Shannon and I came up with a couple solutions. And one of them was a client scoring matrix. We sit down periodically. We try to do it, at least a few times a year, but most of the time, we do it maybe 1 or 2 times a year. But we sit down and we rate our clients. We have a rating system where we go through and we rank them. We give them scores, and there's a threshold. And if they don't hit that threshold, then there's a few different options that we have with dealing with them, whether it's getting rid of them or maybe kind of putting them on probation. So we use our client scoring matrix on our existing clients. But what I think the most important thing that we do is we make sure the clients aren't crappy before we even take them on long term. And the way we do that is with the quick review sales funnel. So really, we teach the quick review sales funnel. It's pretty much a dating plan. It's really kind of, your quick review is sort of your first date. you're kind of vetting the client, and then you're doing the cleanup work, and then you're deciding. By then everybody is kind of familiar with each other and how that we work and how they work, and we can decide whether or not we want to take them on long term as monthly clients. And so what we found by incorporating our quick review and our client scoring matrix is that we have a better client retention. We're vetting them again before we commit to them long term, and we're continually evaluating those clients. So you may have a client that's really great and they're working out awesome for a few years, and then maybe they have some turnover and the train falls off the track, and it's time to, this is when you have this client scoring matrix. And you can come in and say, yeah, historically they've been a great client, but right now we have some problems, and then kind of figure out what your game plan is there. And the last challenge, and I think this was the most important one, is my stress level was just off the charts. It was ridiculous. My son is 6.5, and after he was born, I had postpartum depression really badly, and I went on medication. And it's the greatest thing that I ever did, and I'm not shy about saying that Wellbutrin probably just absolutely saved my marriage, saved my business. It allowed me to focus, and it was what I needed, but I didn't want to have to take those meds for the rest of my life. And so by working on a plan with my doctor, we decided that I was going to start exercising. And so really getting back, and so getting on my bike and going for walks and doing all this stuff, going to the gym, that helped out with that for me personally. So professionally, I had to come up with another solution. And what that involved was really coming up with a list of the services, a defined list of services that we are going to offer. I am not going to offer, admin services. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do collections. That's not something that Kildal Services does. We can farm that out, or we can outsource that, or we can find an app that works for that. And so we really narrowed down the services that we wanted to offer. So we have a very specific schedule of services. And in that spreadsheet, we assign it whether it's going to be the client that's going to perform the services or Kildal Services that's going to do that. And then we totally adjusted our billing cycle, the way that we do our billing. One of the things that was such a stressor for me in my business was that everybody had been telling me I need to do package billing. You need to come up with these packages. You need to do flat fee billing. Well, I had been doing flat fee billing since probably since I went remote, so the end of 2008. And I was pretty much basing them on the hours that we worked. So, we're going to work 5 hours a month and that's going to be X amount. But with the advent of all of the apps and the solutions that make it easier and make it us work faster, better, smarter, that really wasn't working. And so billing hourly I couldn't frame it that way when I was talking to clients. And so for a few years, I tried package billing, gold, silver, bronze, whatever it was, and it just wasn't working. And I've talked to so many pro advisors who are sole practitioners or who just have 2 or 3 people working for them, and they can't get these packages going. And the problem is the clients see the packages and they think that that's all they have, or you're going to need to do custom pricing anyway. And that's what we were doing custom pricing, and we didn't have any choice. The packages weren't working. So we came up with something that we call base plus billing, and that has really helped. It is still sort of a package, and it's definitely flat rate. It's just an a la carte way of doing billing. And so what we found was that by including the schedule of services and letting the client, basically pick and choose what they wanted, and with base plus billing, everybody at Kildal Services was on the same page. It didn't matter if somebody reached out to my admin, Katie. It didn't matter if somebody reached out to, Shannon. It didn't matter if somebody reached out to the person doing my marketing or my website. Everybody was on the same page and was able to quote basic fees, and it was always the same thing rather than saying, hey, we have to have Stacy, talk to Stacy so that she can get you pricing. It also allowed us to really focus on the services that we do best and that we enjoy doing. And because of all of this, I now have a lot of time to set aside for me. So usually in the morning, I go drop my kids off during school year. I go drop my kids off. I'm home by 8:30. I usually spend an hour or two working out, whether it's going for a bike ride or taking a hike out in the state park by my house or roller skating here. You see, I have time to do that. And that's where before we implemented all this, I wasn't able to take that time to really focus on me. And I'm much better for doing this. And Shannon also can even attest to this. She has much more time. We're done working we don't do client appointments after 3 p.m. Eastern time. I will answer emails as long as I have the option to do it. And if I have a few minutes, I can do that on my phone. But when it comes to client work, basically we have very, very set hours. And we've just really been able to kind of take the time so we can always make sure that we're there for practice with our kids. We're there with our significant others. We have time to just, do what we need to do when we need to do it. There are days where I just don't feel like working during the day, so I'm going to push it back to the evening. And implementing all of this was I think one of the biggest things to kind of get me back to normal, get me grounded. And so when I was talking about not being a fan of work-life balance, I think it's really more of an integration. I don't think you're really balancing anything. I think for you guys, I see a lot of familiar names in here, and I tell you what, I think for us, it really truly is an integration. Many of us work from home. Many of us have small teams, or we're just sole practitioners. And it really truly is an integration versus a balance. I go on vacation, I still have to process payroll for my clients. Those employees still need to get paid. So even if I'm down in Jamaica, or if I'm up north in Traverse City, and I'm on a bus trip with my middle schooler with her band, I still have to run my business. And so I really truly feel it's more of an integration than a balance. And one of the things that I think you guys would benefit from is identify your strengths and weaknesses. One of the things that I found that I was really bad at is calling people back, but I'm really good at sending text or emails. So we tell clients right out of the gate, please don't call me, text or email. Find clients that you enjoy and do the work that you love. It is okay to say no. And when you do that, sometimes you find that it's going to bring very unexpected opportunities and open windows that and doors that maybe wouldn't open if you took on that client that you really are kind of on the fence about. And I think the most important thing here is prioritize what you want. You need to prioritize it. Do you want time off? If you want time off, then you're not going to make as much money, or you're going to have to adjust that. The truth is you can't have everything. It's just a bunch of bullshit. I mean, I'm sorry to offend everybody, but it absolutely positively is. I teach one of the things that I say over and over and over again is everything in life is choices, and there are costs to everything. So you need to prioritize what you want. And I think most importantly, it's investing in yourself and in your business. This was something that I did very sparingly. And once I decided to go all in with it, investing in my business and investing in myself, it's exploded. My revenue has absolutely positively, it's doubled now, which since 2011. And since we implemented most of the tools, if not all of the tools that we teach in Stacey K Academy, our revenue has increased. Actually, I just looked year over year, gross rev has improved 66%. The last time I looked a few months ago, it was 54%. Normally in the summer, we're dead. Since we implemented all of this stuff this summer, we're actually turning work away. And when we get new prospects, Shannon and I are telling them at this point, it's the beginning of June right now, or middle of June, we can't take anything on for at least 3 or 4 more weeks. So this is what I want you guys to do. We just have a couple minutes, so I just want to kind of focus on kind of your takeaway and your next step, your action plan is I want you to make a contract with yourself. No one is going to be able to do this but you, and so you need to commit. You don't need to tell anybody. I just read a study a couple weeks ago that said a lot of times if you tell people what your goals are, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, I'm going to do this, you are less likely to do it than if you just kept it to yourself and didn't tell anybody. And then visualize it. I know this sounds kind of cheesy. I swear I always thought this was really just like, yeah, whatever. But you really need to visualize it. What do you see your practice? What is the definition of your kick-ass practice? Is it being able to work from a beach? Is it just having clients in a specific industry? So really visualize it and see yourself in it, doing the work, working it every day, and take risks. Just so that you guys know, this whole Stacey K Academy is such a huge risk, and get feedback. So this was a risk for me launching it. And we did some beta testing, and we had people go through the program before we launched it, and I asked for feedback. Not all of it was good. You know, we all want people to pat us on the back and tell us how awesome we are, but not all of it was good. So if it is negative, suck it up. Say thank you for that feedback because you asked for it and somebody gave it to you, and then make adjustments you need to course correct. Don't wait for permission. Just do it. If you find something that you want to do, go and do it. Figure out a way to do it. And if people disagree with you, that's fine. Ask them why they disagree. Find out what their viewpoint is and use that to maybe sort of adjust. I had a great conversation about Stacey K Academy with Jim Buffington from Intuit, and he gave me really great advice. He disagreed with a few things that I had planned and gave me the points and specific reasons why. And so I said, okay, I'm going to take that into account. I don't know that I'm going to implement what you're suggesting, but I will keep it on the back burner in case what I'm doing doesn't work. And then you always need to repair and reinvigorate. You need to recognize those signs that you need to take a break and then go take one. If you're like me, you're going to sit around on the couch or maybe on your deck and stream some live, Law and Order. I watch a lot of Law and Order. So take that break. So those are the things that I want you guys to do. Make a contract. Visualize what your practice is going to look like. Take risks. I think this is the biggest one, and don't wait for permission to go and do those. And then also you need to take the time to repair and reinvigorate. And if you are finding that you don't have the time to go do that, you need to do a needs analysis and you need to figure out why. What is holding you back? Whether it's something that you're doing personally, maybe it's outside forces that are kind of holding you back and telling you that it's not a good idea. Figure it out, and then make a plan to change whatever it is that you need to change. So here's the next steps. I want you to write down what you want your practice to be. I want you to identify one thing that you can change today, right? So how many hours do you want to work? How much money do you want to make? Obviously, if you want to work less hours, you're not going to make as much money. So if you're the one doing all the work, so you need to figure out how to do that. Thinking about this session, identify that one thing that you can change today. What is the one thing that you can do to get closer to your balance? Is it maybe getting up an hour earlier tomorrow to go for a bike ride, or spend an hour just reading a magazine or looking at a website or watching Law and Order at 5:30 in the morning just by yourself? One thing that you can change today. That's what I want you guys to do. Write down what your practice is going to be. I want you to identify one thing that you can change today. And obviously, I would like you guys to register for Stacey K Academy and invest in your business. This whole Stacey K Academy comes from doing coaching with pro advisors and other accounting professionals in 2013 and all of 2014 and the beginning of 2015. I do this every day. It is my practice. This is how we work. All of the things that we teach are things that we use. And actually, after I get done with you guys, I have to log in and do a remote session with a client. I work with clients every single day. This isn't all I do. So these are tools that we really use. And I'm going to have a recording so that you guys, and I'll send you a link also to the Prezi so you guys can take a look at that. And if you have any more information, I know this was scheduled for a half hour and we're right at the half hour. So if anybody has any questions, I'll stick around for a couple more minutes. But if you have any questions, please go post them to the Facebook page or Twitter. You can email me, anything that you guys need. I am here for you. So see if you have any questions. Oh, and Maria says, I've adopted your pricing, so far so good. Great. Thanks, Maria. I appreciate that. Amelia, thanks, you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to follow up. You can email me directly if you would like. You can also post any of the questions on the Facebook page. Stacy K Academy starts on July 9th, and you can register right up until that day. I'm probably gonna, even if you register after, all the recordings, all the webinars are going to be recorded and they'll be uploaded to YouTube, but they'll be private viewing, so you only select few will be able to have them. And they're all going to be on Thursdays. So the schedule, if anybody's interested, I can send the schedule, but they are all Thursdays for an hour. So if you miss it, you'll get the link to the YouTube. No discounts right now and no payment plans. So they're all consecutive weeks. And it starts July 9th. And again, if you miss a week or you've got a vacation, they'll all be recorded. We have a private, not only the Stacy K Academy Facebook page, but when you register for Stacy K Academy, there is also a private Facebook group. It is not searchable, so you have to be an attendee to have access to it. So if you have any questions at all about that, about anything that we do, you'll be able to post that once you register. And they're all going to be Thursdays from 11:30 a.m. Eastern to 12:30 Eastern every Thursday starting July 9th. Our office hours are going to be on Fridays, and they'll be a half hour, and those will also be 11:30, but 11:30 to 12. 6 weeks for the webinars. So the webinars start July 9th, and then the office hours start the week after. So basically 6 weeks of webinars, 6 weeks of office hours, and then you can email me questions anytime. As an alumni, so you get a t-shirt. When you register, you get a t-shirt. I do send out a special gift to everybody that registers. I have been. Also, if you're going to be at QuickBooks Connect, anybody that registers for Stacy K Academy will get VIP seating for the accounting keynote. The cost of the Academy is $12.95. One flat fee of $12.95. And we are probably going to do, if we have a full class, we're going to do kind of a round 2 where we're going to do a little bit deep dive into some of the stuff that we cover each week in Stacy K Academy. So we're finalizing the content for that as well. Thanks, you guys. If you guys have any other questions, I'll let you guys go. I know everybody's busy today. Thanks, Jan. Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, all of you guys. Appreciate it. You guys have a great day.